Welcome to Coffee with Cody. Today we have a Starbucks Grande Blonde Latte. That's what's is keeping us up today. So thank you so much for tuning into Coffee with Cody. Today I want to chat about something that really means a lot to me, about becoming a lifelong learner. And I thank you everyone for tuning into this episode with me. I want to provide some massive value back to the business community. Hopped into the studio today in my office, back in the office, and I just more than anything want to try to provide some massive value, and just with these learnings that I've been able to learn over, I would say, probably the last year of my life has been all about learning, and it's been a growth year. And I said at the beginning of 2019 that I was going to invest 2019, 2020 into just learning more, growing, adopting the growth mindset, adopting a role model mindset, and just really trying to give back, but also really trying to soak in as much as I possibly can. It's part of the reason that we do podcasts. Part of the reason why we try to really get some really good guests on our shows, on the Studio PTPO podcast, is to try to soak in as much information as we possibly can, so that we can ourselves be growth minded, but also, more than anything, really the goal behind becoming a lifelong learner is to really not only just learn but implement. And today I want to chat about becoming a lifelong learner. I also want to chat about essentially how, when I went on this learning journey a couple years ago, because I had to, for those that know my story, it's been 10 years in the telecom industry. A lot of these systems, a lot of the processes, everything that we learned was really taught to us. So when I dove into entrepreneurship, I had to essentially recalibrate everything that I had learned. I had to unlearn a lot of things in order to really get the business to where it is. And believe me, we're still on a journey. I'm still chasing the 39-year-old version of myself. I'm just thankful for the attention that you have given me today, and really just want to try to find some value. So when I went on this learning journey last year, 2 years ago, when I first started, I had to really create a lot of the systems and processes. And one of the biggest ones for me was a lot of the learning and development that, when you're with a corporation, they essentially force you, or like they encourage you, I guess you could say, to really dive into learning key systems and key processes. When you're an entrepreneur, when you're a business owner, you kind of have to do it yourself, and you have to figure out essentially who is the person that you want to teach you. So that's why I believe so firmly in personal development, because over the last year, I've really sought out mentors. I've sought out, reading books, read over 50 books in the last year, to really try to navigate through this whole entrepreneurial world, how we grow a business, how I manage people better, how I manage money better, how I create systems and processes. And today I want to chat really quick about learning quicker. So one of the biggest things, I have a few notes in front of me here. So one of the biggest things, whenever I sit down and try to read a book, I always try to think about what is the objective and what's the reason of me wanting to read this book. So I think when you always have an objective in mind, for me anyways, like when you're reading business books, when you're reading books on money, when you're reading books on sales, those are kind of the things that I stick to. I stay in my lane. But at the beginning of the year, I actually wrote down different things that I want to learn. So it's on my whiteboard over here. One was email automation. The next was mindset. The next was business. Third was investing. The fifth thing was team building. The sixth thing was Facebook groups. And then what I do is I then go seek out expert advice for people that have already been doing those things in that industry. So when I started in Facebook ads, I sought out a mentor. I sought out Kat Howell. I hired Kat Howell. I am connected with her community. I'm connected with the top, 1% of Facebook marketers in the world. And I feel like that's an ever-growing thing, because that's just growing a business. But if you want to really learn something, you need to find somebody that has already been where you want to go. And the biggest thing that I say whenever you want to learn quicker, you want to learn faster, there's only a few ways to learn faster, learn quicker, and become a lifelong learner. You either buy more books and try to get the overall knowledge. You hire a mentor, so somebody or a coach, like a business coach, of somebody that has already been where you want to go, that can give you standard operating procedures Or the third thing is you just hire the third thing I would say is hire like a personal development coach, somebody that can really help you with mindset. And that was one of the biggest things that, this year, if you look at, if I look at the growth and I look at what I've done over the last year, it's been reading. So seeking at reading and like just listening to podcasts. It's been seeking a mentor in specific areas or avenues in life. And it's also been focused on mindset, focus on personal development, because I think there's an element of personal development that's super important, but there's also an element of business development that you have to think about when you're looking at growing a business, or you're looking at essentially getting to that next level in life. And one of the biggest things I would say is whenever I ask for book recommendations, and I hope that this really helps you, and I want to give you some key action items today. Whenever somebody tells me to read this book, I always ask for a summary. So can you tell me what this book did to help you change your life? And I actually, last podcast that we did was on traction, and I kind of give you a high level overview on essentially everything that traction did. But the second thing from an actual summary is I always look for book recommendations from people that have done that specific thing that I want to do in that specific industry. So if it is building a business, I'm generally going to ask people who have built businesses, what are the recommendations of those books that got you to where you are today? So, for example, Traction was suggested to me by one of my good friends, Bob Govro, who is growing a business at a rapid rate. He wrote a book called The Wealthy Entrepreneur. He's actually a client of ours. I read Traction, and it just literally everything that he taught me was great. But then he's like, "Oh, I read this book, and the book is helping me build my business as well." And that would be the biggest thing that I would say. The biggest thing I would say is look for people that you trust, you trust, and look for the recommendations on the books that they're reading. Because I heard the other day, and I hear consistently on podcasts and from business owner friends that are growing and scaling, that success leaves clues. And I think ultimately, if you can get the ear of the person, this is why me and Neil did a podcast the other day about starting a podcast, because if you get these people on your podcast to essentially get you to give you free advice for free consulting advice, it's it's kind of selfish, but at the end of the day, it really does work. And it's part of the reason why we do it. Obviously, we're interested in stories, wanting to provide massive value back to our community. But the other element behind that is it's a learning experience for us. And it's becoming, and it's choosing. I think ultimately, becoming a lifelong learner is a choice, because I made that choice I made the choice when I first started entrepreneurship, but I really made the choice about a year ago. I really decided that, look, I feel like I'm spinning my tires. I feel like X, Y, and Z. I feel like I'm not getting any further in my business. And it wasn't until I adopted the lifelong learner mindset, the growth mindset, that it wasn't until I decided that and made the choice that things started to change and things started to shift. And I realized that, okay, I don't need to do it all on my own. Okay, I don't need to struggle. Okay, I don't need to read all these books. I need to be selective with the books that I read. And because there's so many books out there, there's so much information. So if you can really identify the people in your life that you really want to be like, or if you can identify, in a specific industry like money or investing, what are the books that they're reading? Who are the mentors that they're following? I find when you do that and you get as close to the sun as you possibly can, then you get the right information. You get the information that will actually push you forward. And it was interesting because the reason that I got connected with originally with the Brendan Burchard community in regards to going HPX Live and getting connected to that community was because I was in another community with one of my sales coaches, Stan Way, who recommended that I read High Performance Habits. He gave me the high level overview on what high performance habits was. And then it's interesting because that community will lead you to another community. It's so interesting because the Cat Howell community led me to the Agency Growth Labs community, which then led me to the Brendan Burchard community. And it's the more that you seek good advice and the less you're afraid of getting burnt, the better results you're going to have. You need to adopt the growth mindset. And that's really my encouragement to you today is adopt the growth mindset because it'll change your life. It has changed my life over the last year. And this is why I'm so committed to trying to go live daily, whether it be with Studio PTO podcast, whether it be with this one. Really the goal more than anything is to try to find massive value. So I really appreciate, you. Thank you, Amber, for hopping on the live today. Really appreciate your attention. That's really my goal more than anything, is try to find massive value, become a lifelong learner, adopt the growth mindset. It'll change your life. Get as close to the sun as you possibly can. Connect with people that have already been where you want to go. Ask them questions about the books that they've read, the courses that they've invested in, the knowledge that they can give you that can help you get to that next level or the next stage, whether it be personal development, whether it be business development. This is what I've done. This has changed my life. I really hope that you're all having a great day. We'll chat with you soon, and hope you're staying safe out there.